During this hot weather I've been enjoying tuna chunks. This is a full tin. But I've got an old-fashioned turnbuckle to take the lid off. Don't throw these away, they're very handy, they're excellent pressing. That's one I've just rinsed under the tap. And there's no sharp edges. And they're really coated, they're very handy. So I don't chuck those away. And if you're like me and you use Tamaxol or some other cutting compound, I mean, I've had that since I was a schoolboy. You only need a tiny amount, but you only need it on the tip of drills, and if you cut stainless, on a smear on your blade, hacksaw blade or what have you. So really that's a hell of a big waste. Well, what I do is that sort of stuff. I pull some of it out like that. I mean, it's enough there to last you years and years. Right? And then using a hot air gun, especially if you switch it on, heat it up, and you'll see it'll start to, there you go, melting. And what you're looking for is about no more than 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch over the bottom of the tin. There, that's gone, look. I'll leave that to cool and come back to it in half an hour. Okay, well it's now cooled off, and as you can see, look, it's gone solid. We've just got a thin layer on the bottom. And you want to keep this local to your drill press or what have you. And any time you're drilling tough steels, stainless steel or anything which is work hardening, there's a slightly different technique can be employed in where we apply slightly more pressure. We sort of worry it a bit, and all you have to do if you put your drill in, or all I do, is just that, and you've got a blob on the very end, which is where you want it, of course. And it'll mean cutting through stainless and such things so much easier, because if you dwell or hesitate while trying to drill really tough steels, they're work hardening, and it'll be harder there where the drill is just idle, so to speak. But if you give it a bit more pressure, that pressure will generate heat, and it's the heat that melts the paste that releases the oil that assists in the cutting. So if you see smoke coming from drillings, when you're using this stuff, that's perfectly okay, and it's just a question of doing that each time. You haven't got to mess around with brushes, squirties or anything else. So I highly recommend you adopt that simple system. And when it gets very messy, just heat it up, and it's like beeswax, if you like. It's that sort of consistency. You can move it with your finger. Look, but it's absolutely ideal. You just need a little smear. Okay, that's that tip. Behind where I live there's a quiet country lane, and I'm afraid it gets used by irresponsible people that fly tip in farm gateways and so forth. And some rotten bee had dumped a whole load of stuff, and the council man was clearing it away, and amongst all this horrendous pile was an old gas cooker. And I was speaking to the council man who was clearing this up. I said, I wouldn't mind the clock out of that cooker. He says, you help yourself. He says, I can't take it on this trip. He says, I'll be back this afternoon. He says. So I whipped out the clock on it. One of these things. Oh, that's handy. So Let's have a look. That's the switch, that's the mains, this one. There you go. Put that on there. Don't put my hand across it. Switch on. Oh, we got a little light. Oh. There we go. We've got a clock, and we've got a timer that we can start to switch on or switch off. It's a single pole, single way switch, but it will switch nearly 2 kilowatts. So, by heck, that can be handy. I can find a use for that. And while I was about it, I grabbed the ignition module. I had an idea for that also. The ignition module I've placed in a plastic piece of sewer pipe with a micro switch and an upturned spark plug, as you can see. And you can see the action there. And this will sit on my welding bench, and just a matter of doing that. Works every time, so I can see that being very handy. Okay, due to circumstances this end, I don't have the free time that I did, and so that's probably a lot for a while on videos. I've got 1 or 2 major sort of projects coming up which I will be filming. I very much want to get my boat home. There's jobs I want to do on it. I can't do really down in the creek. So I want to design and source out some wheels, axles, and make some sort of trailer. Storage of trailers at my place and down at the club is expensive, so I want something I can break down in component parts. So that's put me thinking cap on there. I want to bring the boat home because I want to replace the cutlass bearing, which is pretty bad, and it involves taking the rudder off, it involves taking the propeller off, and possibly the actual shaft as well. I don't know yet. So that's quite sort of major. I also want to put a rubbing stake all the way around, as I'd lost one on one side. It was like that when I got it. And the wheelhouse windows, I got a hole in one and a crack in the other, so they want replacing, and the rubbers that hold the perspex in, they're all perished, so they will want doing. So the only effective way is to try and get it home. So that's the next major sort of project, which is I'm going to be involved in for a little while. So I will be pardon me, I will be posting videos, but this sort of thing is on the, excuse the pun, on the back burner. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Any ideas, comments, always read them. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.